What's up, Gingos? Today I just want to talk about the idea of having the mindset and like motivation to get out of the 9 to 5, right? We know the 9 to 5 is just it's a matrix, right? It's you're a rat on a treadmill, you're just running forever and ever, right? And as I've been in the 9 to 5, right, I most of the jobs that I held were just to like accumulate some money, pad my account for whatever, right? Because I never really needed the income. But every time I'm in a job, I don't stay for long because I'm like, this is just horrible, right? This is not what I actually want to do. This is not what I imagine my life to be like. And I hope everybody else in the comments or whoever's watching these videos thinks exactly the same way. You shouldn't like resort your life to 9 to 5. And like when you think about the 9 to 5, you think about like work-life balance, a consistent paycheck. Like those are like the two biggest motivators, right? And it makes no sense because in all honesty, if you want a great lavish lifestyle, if you want to have freedom, if you want all the things like really worth it in life, you can't really have a work-life balance, right? You need to do an outsized amount of work to get an outsized amount of reward, right? So, and the idea of work isn't correlated to a job, right? Just the same way learning isn't correlated to school. It can be a separate thing. You can like learning even if you don't like school. You can like working if you don't like having a job, right? That's me. I like learning and I like working. I just don't like having a 9 to 5 job or the traditional educational system, right? But so you need to separate those things. And a consistent paycheck, oh my God, like that shit is so ass. And I say that because when you get a consistent paycheck, say you just work 40 hours every week, you're like, if you understand how business works, how money works, how money flows and everything, you understand that you can make an absurd amount of money, right? But because you're limited in 9 to 5, you're limited to how much money you can make based on how much time you input, and typically the time you input is like maxed out at 40 or like whatever it may be. Sometimes you get hourly, sometimes you get overtime, sometimes you get bonuses, whatever, right? But most of the time, your money is dependent on how much time you input, and that means it's just you're completely limited. If you were to sell a product or a service or something, it's not time dependent, right? You just have to put time in, but you can make so much more money even with less time. You can make less money with less time. Nonetheless, that's the risk you take on, right? But once you start getting like that first paycheck, it feels good. Like, oh, look at my bank account, it looks a little bit better. Then the second one, the third one still feels a little bit good, but it gets so boring so fast. Like sometimes I'll look at like my paycheck and I'll be like, damn, that's it. And it's like when I got a big refund from my taxes that month, that felt good because I had a big splurge of money come in that I didn't technically know how much it was going to be. I kind of knew the numbers, but I didn't know how much it was going to look like. Like it was a big difference compared to like just a weekly paycheck. But then now when you get the weekly paycheck, even though if your bank account's getting padded and you have more and more money in your account, it just doesn't feel that good. It's like you don't get that much dopamine from it. It's not as exciting as you'd think it would be. And so it's like I don't understand how people are able to do that for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, right, of their life. They're like, yeah, I have a consistent paycheck, I can pay my bills, they give me a pension, this bullshit. It's like, first of all, the pension and all that, it's most of the companies limit how much they actually input, and you can, if you literally learn how to invest on your own, you don't need a pension. You can just invest on your own, have your own Roth IRA, invest consistently on your own, and you'll have that solid retirement account, right? And the consistent paycheck, it sounds good until you realize how much more money's out there in the world, how much more money you can possibly make. If you're like putting in 160 hours a month and you're making 2,000, 3,000, whatever it may be, there's some people who are working 20, 30 hours a month making 10,000, right? Or even if they're working more, it's like they're still getting such a big lump sum where they're making enough where they can afford everything that they possibly need. They're not living paycheck to paycheck. They're not having to worry about like future costs of like, oh, will this be enough in the future when I have kids and a wife or this or whatever the case may be, right? And they're not having to climb the corporate ladder. They're not having to deal with coworkers. They're not having to do like work they're not actually fulfilled by. It's like there's so much negatives in the 9 to 5 lifestyle that you need to constantly be in the mindset that I need to get out. I need to get out. I need to get out. And all with how much information is readily available on the internet, how easy it is to like open up a business now, and how much access you have to like the world like through social media. There's no way you can't tell me that the 9 to 5 is like the most desirable lifestyle. Like everything I just mentioned is what makes business so enticing, right? You can literally get all the freedom you want. You can make all the money you want. You can have everything that you possibly want through the internet. It's all given there. If you just take the time to learn the skills, the knowledge, and the tools that you need, you can easily make it. And it's really not even that hard, because in if you can figure out what you actually have skill and knowledge in and what the world needs, like, think about like your passion, what the market needs and what people will pay you for, stuff like that, right? Once you figure out that for yourself, once you have the right skill set, then you can sell it. The hardest part is just figuring out what you actually want to sell, what will be sustainable for you, right? And there's like I remember reading a ladder, right? I have it in front of me, and it's the ladders of wealth creation. So it starts with you trading time for money, right? You either work an hourly job, and the slightly above one is having a salary for a company. Then people typically go to a service business because it's easier than a product business because there's less capital involved, right? So like you can have hourly work for clients, then you start charging by the project, then you manage a team to do the service work for you, right? So that's like you climbing up the ladder from hourly salary, clients, project, and then having a team, right? Then you can go into products, right? And that's when you'd be like having like a fixed scope for a fixed price, selling consultant packages, recurring services provided by employees, or recurring products, right? Just sending them products on, like a subscription basis or whatever, right? This was you going from time for money to your own service business to product services, right? And then the last thing would just be selling products, and you could sell digital products. You can go above that would be products sold in the existing ecosystem, like iOS apps, WordPress, plugins, Airbnb houses. So you just use another platform, right? Physical products and e-commerce, subscription software, launch with consulting services, SaaS, software as a service, and the top of the line is marketplaces and social networks, like creating something like Facebook, Uber, eBay, right? That's essentially the ladder of wealth creation, right? And typically you would need to go from like a regular ladder, you would go from one rung to another, right? And you can skip, but it's only gonna be harder because you still need the skills and knowledge that you got in the previous one to apply in the current one. And there's a bunch of things that are like said within this ladder, but I just want you to not go through the ladder completely step by step and be like, oh, and like just like within this like article he talked about, like when you go from one ladder to another, you typically lose money, like lose income, and then eventually it becomes even bigger. Like it's like a little bit of a sacrifice and a bigger reward, and then there's like it takes a lot of time, money, energy, and a lot of work, right? But forget all of that, right? Forget all the friction. I just want you to think about like the ladders, because it shows you that it's like this is the way to actually make proper wealth. It's the way to get out of the 9 to 5. It's possible. Other people have done it. You can do it as well. It's just you need to understand how can I like you should be thinking, okay, I'm trading time for money. So the next thing for me would be to go into a service business. What service can I offer? What skills can I gain right now while I'm working my job that I can, sell to someone else? What will be enough? What will be valuable enough for someone to buy that I can service them with, right? I'm telling you, like the 9 to 5 shit, it's just so ass. And like, especially if you're in like high school or college, and you're like, no, like I'm gonna go from high school to college, I'm gonna get a good degree, and then I'm gonna get a good job. It's literally never that simple, because once you get out of college, you're like, damn, like first of all, college doesn't really teach you any real life skills. So then you go into like the job world not knowing anything. And so now you gotta teach yourself all of that. You're applying to all these jobs that you are just not getting. It just feels like a waste of time. You're having to do interviews that you never like prep for or really know what they're gonna ask you. And then you're like fighting the corporate ladder, you're dealing with coworkers, the paycheck is never that much. Like if you truly want wealth, no amount of income will ever be enough, because you'll be like, yeah, this job pays 6 figures, this job pays 50, this one pays 200, but it's like the really big ones are 250, 300, which might be enough, will be so hard to get without like, and you'd need years of experience, years of skills, right? And even then it's still super hard to get. And then when you get them, you're going to be working 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. So like you'll never actually get the freedom. So you'll be like, damn, I'm making $250,000, but my life is gone. Like I'm working 100-hour weeks or whatever. So it's like, you need to be in the mindset that I need my own business. I need my own skills and knowledge that I can give to the world. And it's like, with a business, there's just so much more benefits. Like even if you were to land a 6-figure job, and you're like, I don't spend that much money, a 6-figure job would be good for me, right? You make 100K, you end up paying like 30, 35K in taxes. Now you only really take home 65. And that's if you had no expenses at all, which is literally impossible. And you can't live a lavish lifestyle, or like you can't build wealth with just 65K a year. You're still trading so much time. You don't have the freedom. You don't have the proper knowledge and skills, and like, you're still always at job risk because you could always get fired, company could get shut down, and all these other things, right? But if you work in a business, right, your own business, you have the ability to get like loans against your business. You can get big lines of credit using, because business credit is a lot more important than personal credit. You can pay yourself as a contractor through your business. You can pay yourself a salary through your business, and you can pay yourself a shit ton amounts. So even after taxes, you can just even after taxes, you still have a lump sum. And on top of that, you would be like able to, with businesses, you're able to write off taxes, right? Like write off expenses for your taxes. So your business won't pay as much in taxes as you would on a personal level, which is a big reason why these wealthy people have all these tax loopholes. Is they do it through their business, and that's why it's so important to own your own thing, because then you can actually evade taxes, and then you can use your business bank account to pay for things, or pay through it just through your business, right? And then you're just not paying taxes, and taxes are one of your biggest expenses. If you don't understand like simple finances, read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It was the first book I read. Changes everything. Like, you understand how taxes work, you understand how the rich work, you understand that real estate's actually like buying a house. Real estate is good. Buying your house for yourself and like putting yourself under a mortgage is not a good investment. Things like that, right? Just always in the back of your mind, even like in the beginning of your career, you're gonna need to work a 9 to 5 because you need to accumulate some funds. You need to make some money here and there, pad your account, gather some skills, gather a network, whatever. That's gonna happen early in your career, but just always in the back of your mind, always have this idea that I need to get out. I need to start my own business. I need to. And if you do this, in the end, you will win.